Hey, how's it going? Merry Christmas. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing pretty well. A little tired. I hope you're more stuffed than a Christmas turkey this morning and afternoon and evening, whenever you happen to be seeing this. My name is Cameron, and I'm going to talk about my illustration process for my holiday shop items. So it all started with an idea. Initially, when I did start this holiday shop thing, I did want to originally do illustration for the apparel and merch that I would be creating, but I didn't get a chance to do it. So this time, 6 years later, I decided to do that. So the inspiration was just pretty straightforward. I just kind of had this idea for like a weeking Santa Claus. And of course, with that, I had to throw in, of course, he had to have a grill because he's from Atlanta. Shout out to Atlanta Grills. And then I did a Mrs. Claus, and then from there, also with the characters, they had a slight nod to the Rankin and Bass characters from Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, that little stop motion animated film. So with the first illustration that I did was Santa Claus, and that was pretty straightforward. You can see sort of my different thoughts going through. It was really hard to kind of nail down the exact style, but I did know that I wanted an old 1930s feel to the design of Santa Claus. I was looking for reference. I couldn't really find any, but I did initially in my head reference those 1930s noodly cartoons with the sort of glint in the eye, that little chip triangle taken out of the eye as sort of like a light source, is what they used to do back in the day. And then initially he was looking like a Jolly Roger or something with his mustache. I have no idea why. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. But from there we did refine it back. Of course, he would have the Christmas hat on. And then his mustache got really big. But anatomically it doesn't necessarily work out. It's more of a cartoony character. Just if you look how big his mouth is compared to the rest of his face, that looks kind of crazy. And also too, kind of trying to figure out what the teeth would look like with the grill in him. He was a little bit too squat, so I widened the face a little bit to be more jolly and cheery. And also, with him sort of winking at you, he had the sort of twinkle in his eye, if you will. And also he had a twinkle on his teeth. So initially I did have the eye as just like a round light source here, right in the little bit of an eye, but I did change that later on. Now I wasn't sure how straight shaded I wanted the illustration to be, since it was going to be applied to different products and different apparel and things like that. I just kept it simple, just like a black line art with just a simple flat coloring, because again, like this stuff was going to be shrunk down to excuse me, the drawing was going to be shrunk down to very small sizes, so I wanted to still be readable when you did see it smaller. That way, it could go on different apparel very easily. The thing is, when you start shading artwork, a lot of that stuff will get lost when it shrinks down depending on the different colors that you use. So again, I just kept it simple and just used flat colors. So with the line art here, this is pretty rough. This is not the line art for the final image that you see on all the merchandise, whether it be like the jackets and the different items and notebooks and stuff and mugs. But once the line art was done, I did go over it and made it into like a vector illustration after that. But what I do like to use here is Procreate to get the initial sketch, because it feels most natural to actually drawing on paper. I've been using it since about 2018, once the tools were probably the best that they had ever done. And again, I was just using the flat colors, trying to figure out the skin tones and what colors I would use before vectorizing it. I always like to get that stuff figured out so that I know kind of where I'm going and not fumbling around later on. So this was the final illustration here. and that is what we ended up with. Now here is the vector version of the illustration. You can see obviously the lines are a lot more cleaned up, it's way more crisp. I always love and have loved vector illustration just to have that nice crispy, undisputedly crispy image, if you will. And that is the final result here. So I did do a variation with a black Santa Claus. Some people would prefer to wear that. I mean, it's just kind of funny. In the history of Christmas, I think we did actually have like a black Santa Claus. I mean, I always rock both. I think we always had a black Santa Claus, sort of like Saint Nick looking sort of tree topper. Is like you go on top of the tree is like the star of the tree, I guess. And so yeah, so this is the variations that I did. And then Mrs. Claus, again based off the characters from Rankin and Bass, the green eyes, and then I couldn't figure out what was going on with how to do her hair. So during that process, this is the rough sketch here. You can see the with this rough, it looks like, I think it was like a chalk that I used, or like a pressed charcoal that I use in Procreate actually to get this kind of look. And then the process for Mrs. Claus. So a big thing when I'm doing simpatico pieces, I want to make sure that they're similar in size. So I did have Saint Nick in the background as like a reference for the rough spatial design, or how much space the drawing took up. And so I wanted to make sure it was roughly, again, that same size. So I just started drawing over. I know roughly kind of what I wanted the characters to look like. Miss Claus is a little bit easier just because I had that initial base with Santa Claus. So from there, I could kind of figure out, like, all right, I know what the eye designs kind of be. I can then translate that to more, I guess, quote unquote, feminine version. The eyes are a little bit wider, actually, with Mrs. Claus. Again, these are all kind of like natural, like tropes, I guess, for lack of better words, with doing character designs. Not that I'm a super professional character designer, but a lot of the stuff that I grew up with is kind of present here as far as my thoughts about making these characters for the merch. So I did have different ideas. I didn't know if I wanted her in like a sweater or a neck. Wanted to have like a neckline here. So I was going through trying to figure that out, and I was not sure what I wanted to do. But at the end of it, I did finally figure out as some of the variations. Kind of was trying to figure out if I wanted glasses on her, what the hair would look like. The hair is a more reference to that Rankin and Bass character, specifically Miss Jessica, who became Mrs. Claus in those movies. So the hair is referential of that, but I did want to change it up just a little bit. The hair was a little bit too cropped here toward the face. Originally had like a candy cane earrings and a turtleneck here with the kind of ridges and like all that texture and stuff. But originally I just, again, for the sake of scalability, readability, to tell exactly what was going on, I just did away with some of that texture and just kept it pretty flat and simple. And then also a little fun thing that I did was I had like a little candy cane sort of pin in her hair to keep her bun up. And then I just changed the hair here to come down on the right. I always like more of an asymmetrical. As I hit my mic, brilliant. I always have a more asymmetrical hair design here, which I always think is a bit more dynamic and interesting. Sort of a flare to her ends of her hair there, and also to her hair tucked behind her ear. It's like a nice little fun curl. She's got the Clark Kent curl coming down. Is what I call that. And like I said, I did have ideas of doing glasses. It just, again, it was just too much. I did wanted to pare down, just make it more simple. But I experimented with a few different designs, but it just didn't work out. So we just left it simple, and that was the character. So I was really happy how these turned out. And again, I'm not a cartoonist by trade. I went to school for graphic design, but I've always had an affinity for illustration. And so I've always kind of had that itch to kind of create things using my illustration, not just using it as like, oh, hey, that's a pretty image, but actually applying it to apparel or merch or something that you can get physically. I think that's what's lost these days with illustration, is that you'll see it online, but you won't have a context for it. Or you'll see the context, but I think the best way to view artwork is in the printed form or in its original form. It is if it is a painting, or if it is, like a mural or something like that. I think that's very captivating to see art that way, and I think it gives it a lot more credence to its value when you do see it in real life versus on a screen. And that's why I hope everyone that purchased from the holiday shop, which is now closed, is going to enjoy their merch. I do have a few items left over here that I'll be sending to some people for Christmas. And I appreciate you guys checking out this video on Christmas and afterwards. I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. And also, I wanted to show you a few examples in context of those merch items. So this is really nice here. This is just the winking Mrs. Claus, the ATL hoe pattern in the background on like a shirt dress. We have just the pins. These were fun items. It's like a set of pins that you could get. And these were the leggings that we did. These were like yoga leggings. They're fun, like festive, like a little image here. And also we had just other examples of the glasses here. These are cool, with the image on both sides, actually, of the rocks glasses, what they call it. It's kind of like just a whiskey glass, essentially. With the rocks glass here, put whatever you want in that cup. Oh, the Santa slides. So again, with the illustration, with it being more simple, I was able to put it on the slides and just crop it. It was tricky to, always you want to sort of design with everything in mind, or the most important things in mind. But sometimes when you're making merchandise, you're like, hey, I want this logo or this illustration to apply to something else. So with this, I simply just cropped it in, and it was a nice crop on the face. So you could see the grill, the twinkle on the teeth and in the eye, and then the face of Santa here, which I think those turned out really well, actually. Little candle action here. My other favorite things were the mugs. And also, with the illustration, I did turn it into line art. So it could be applied in a more simplified, even further pattern with not too much color, just the white outline of Mrs. Claus winking at you. And then also applied those illustrations to the back of like hoodies and stuff like that. I'm actually rocking the jacket here with Mrs. Claus on the back, actually. But this here, you can see this is Santa on the back here. This is the hoodie. That's it. And I wanted to thank you for taking a look at this video. If you like what you've seen here, there will be more videos deep diving into my illustration process, my creative process, and also more videos on anything that I love creatively. And I love to celebrate those things with you guys. Please, if you want to see more, subscribe to the Bloody channel, since I don't have that many subscribers at the moment. And also, if you do like the video, or share the video if you want to share it with friends and family. But I'll see you guys again soon. Peace, and have a blessed holiday.